There are a lot of photographers in the space, but very few people that run a photography business. First thing people need to do is set their minimum. How much do you need to make to get out of bed? The clients that appreciate that, you'll find them. And the people that don't appreciate that, you don't want them anyway. Say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. I've had clients tell me that I got the quote, got the job, and shot the job before they heard from the other people with their quote. If you take your business and you think that it's just going to be this way for the rest of your life, you're missing the mark. If you're going to grow and you're going to scale, you just have to find the right people and let them do what they do. It's really unusual that you have people that have actually done an industry for 3 generations. It all starts with my grandfather back in the 1930s. When he left home, it was only in 8th grade and couldn't find a way to make a living. So he ended up going with some traveling nomads, and the photographers were part of the traveling community. And so that's how the family got into it. My grandparents were portrait wedding photographers. My aunts took over their business and stayed in portrait wedding. I have cousins who are National Geographic photographers, AP photographers, and then my mom and my stepdad ran a commercial and corporate photography business that I took over when I was 22 years old. So my perspective on photography is quite broad because there's lots of ways to make a living being a photographer, and just how you do that and how you make it so that it fits within your life. It's some of the flexibilities that being in photography offers.
That's so cool. And you're right, it is super rare. I think photography had this huge heyday as digital came to be. And there were a lot of people like myself who are like the mom who were thinking, oh, cool, I could do this as a side hustle. And then I still have friends who are in the industry. I'm thinking of one in particular who has shifted and she's evolved with that, but still very much in the photography space, has a studio space, has created more for other photographers. So there's always room to scale and grow and create different income opportunities within that one skill set. So it is quite broad, even though it is a very specific thing in the world of business. There's a lot of opportunity there.
There is, and I think that's a really key point. There are a lot of photographers in the space, but very few people that run a photography business. And so I'm especially on this side of it where I'm dealing with corporations, I'm dealing with marketing agencies, advertising agencies. That business part of it is key to what I do, where people that are shooting on the sides, doing seniors and families and things like that, they can do that on the side and make good money. But this corporate space, the business aspect is so important that there's just unwritten rules about how you sell, how you go out and get your clients, do business development, networking, take the pictures, edit, and deliver all in a timely manner because you're dealing with corporations, not just a family or a wedding.
Yeah. So have you been in that space the entire time that you've had your photography business as you took over for
my parents had this. My stepfather was the primary photographer. He also had 2 other people on staff that were photographers. We had 3 lab technicians. We had an office manager, and then my mom was in sales and business development. So they had a huge team of people. When I took over the business, lots changed since then, but they definitely had specific roles of who did what. And I think that part of running the business really changed, especially as digital came in and editing became part of the process instead of processing film. And then who's going to do the sales if you're a photographer shooting? So very different, and through a lot of incantations of what this business looks like to get where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm assuming you always had an eye or a knack for it too. It was right there. It was something, a lot of times this will happen. We pass the talent down, or it's just exposure to it, pun intended. To the skill itself. I observe certain things that my kids have picked up just because that's part of the family culture. Was there any point, like, was there formal training in what you did to be able to, was it more like an apprenticeship with your parents and watching them? Were they putting the camera in your hands and guiding you to become, because you have to develop the skill first, right? We can't start with just the business, or if you can, but you'd have to hire the talent. So where did the talent component come in for you and the love of the actual photography?
My story is bumpy. So let's just be clear. It's not linear at all. But I did have a camera in my hands from the time I was 6 years old. And our business was in the home. And so we built on a studio in the back. And so every day, we lived above it. And if I were to come down the stairs to the business, I had to be dressed in business attire, never allowed to come downstairs in my pajamas. And I was exposed to it on a daily basis. And I actually came into the business as the office manager. So I was taking the calls, I was doing the quoting, invoicing, and bill paying. So that experience was great. But when my dad sent me to college, he said, Leslie, I can teach you everything you need to know about photography. What I need you to learn is I need you to learn to talk to the janitor and the senator. And he said, I need you to get those skill sets that you have a wide enough education to be interesting to people. And so he sent me, I got a liberal arts education at Butler University here in Indianapolis. I think it was great. I have great memories, and I think he was right. But I would say slightly differently. I wished I would have gotten at least a business minor. I'd go back to school when I was 50. I went back and got my master's. I got my MBA. Just such a great addition to what I already knew. So as far as my love of the business, I got thrown in with absolutely no clue what I was doing. So at 23 years old, my stepfather had a stroke and was taken out of the business, and I had to step in immediately. My only training was working as the yearbook photographer at Butler University. And so what I had to do was I had to practice. The night before a job, let's just take stationery, for example. We were shooting a lot of product photography. I would go to buy some stationery, and I'd shoot stationery, have the film run. My mom would look it over, make sure everything looked good, and then I'd go home and sleep real fast and then come back and do it for real the next day.
Wow.
So that's how I got on my feet. I don't recommend it.
Hey, everybody has a path. Some are a little bit rockier than others, but we get where we're going eventually, right?
Actually, right.
If you keep going. So I want to break this down because I love that there is this wide range where you can do this as a side hustle. It can be a full-blown corporation like what you're running. But I think that you touched on something really crucial early in the conversation, was a lot of people can do photography, but they don't run a photography business. And this is a podcast where we want to help you formulate and create an actual business. Let's walk through some of the things, because we glazed over them very quickly, but let's break those down in principles and concepts. If somebody maybe is already running a photography side hustle, they have a knack for that, they would love to turn this into a business, what are some of the core components that they need to put in place so that they are taking the business seriously and running it like a business?
Yeah. So the first thing is to understand that corporate photography is something you do during the week. We're portrait and wedding nights and weekends. So if you're working full-time from 8 to 5, you cannot be a corporate photographer. So you've got to take whatever job that's keeping you afloat right now, move it to nights and weekends so that you're available to be booked during the week, or at least have certain days of the week that are available for clients to book you. We have a list on our website that's all about our process. We have operating procedures for every single part of this business so that we follow it the same every time. Every client is getting the same intake, the same time it takes to get the quote out. We are always on contract. So we don't get retainers. We don't have membership subscriptions. Everything that we do comes as a project. Now, some projects may last 6 months. Some may just last a day, but they have to get the quote here within 24 hours. Many of my competitors take weeks. I've had clients tell me that I got the quote, got the job, and shot the job before they heard from the other people with their quote. If you're currently in the business and not turning your quotes within 24 hours, you're going to lose the business. So that's the first thing. Say what you're going to do and do what you're going to say. Arrive early, be flexible, be happy. Photographers are known as prima donnas. They are absolutely artists, and I'm not saying that they're not, but somebody has to check their ego at the door, and normally it's us. Normally it's where we let the clients lead. We are customer service driven, and we want to make sure when we walk out that door, that client has nothing but great things to say about us. So that's another concept. We deliver our proofs within 24 hours. So we make sure that if we can't, like sometimes we'll shoot hundreds of people in a day. If we can't, then we give them a realistic timeline of how long that will take, and we deliver on time. That gets it off our plate and it gets it on to the client's plate. And then once they send the selections back to us, we deliver in 3 to 5 days. That turnaround time is key to corporate photography. And then lastly, we invoice on a timely manner. Just taking every single thing and walking it from in the door to out the door the same for every single client. And then we follow up with a handwritten thank you note, letting them know that their business is appreciated and that we hope that we'll see them again soon.
Yeah. So it sounds like even if you're not doing corporate, which I love the take and I want to dive deeper into that as well, but anybody is going to benefit from hearing this, even if you're not in the photography industry. Like, we need to have those systems and processes in place. And I think it helps you build a very proactive business and not constantly be functioning in reactivity. My mom's going through a remodel right now, and she's coming at me and saying all the cliche things you hear, like, why don't they do their job? Why don't they show up when they say they're going to show up? And I said, there's a reason these are tropes and like cliches in this space, because a lot of creatives and people who have a specific skill set are not also very savvy at customer service and operations and systems and things like that. And I know that's something that you guys really, you specifically have done to really have those streamlined systems, because yes, it might feel like it's obnoxious or it's not the most important piece because the work itself should speak for itself. But I think that's such a clear distinction people need to make, is making sure that they have those bases covered, because that can become your competitive advantage, right? Like, you can have...
It is my competitive advantage.
Yeah.
If you look at my work, we're good. We've got top-notch photographers here. I am excellent at what I do. My team is excellent at what they do. But truth be told, if you sit down and Google a photographer in your city or state, you're going to get 20 of them. So if they go to my website and they're like, oh, that work is good. They go to somebody else's website and says, oh, that work is good too. They send 2 inquiries because they like both of the work. They're really less concerned about the work at this point, and they're more concerned about the business practices.
Yeah. Yeah. And wouldn't you say that applies whether you're doing the type of photography that you are, or anybody for that matter? Like, the quickest response and the fact that you have your ducks in a row on the back end of your business is what is going to give you that ability to stand out. And I think you touched on something important. There are so many people doing what you're doing. You have to find that competitive advantage. And if it is something as simple as having the quickest response time because you've taken the time to build it as a business and not just a side hustle where the business stops running if you don't feel the creative flow that week, then you're going to continue to have business.
Yeah. And for me, those inquiries that go through the website come directly to me. So I've got an administrator, I've got a social media person, I've got a salesperson, but nobody touches the first time inquiries but me, because I want to make sure, because I work 7 days a week. I'm not sitting behind the camera 7 days a week, but I'm checking my email 7 days a week so that I am the fastest. And I don't expect my team to do that. The whole point of my team is that they have the work-life balance that they want, not that I adapt them to the lifestyle that I've chosen.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about that a little bit, because when we first started chatting, you were talking about how there's opportunities here to create this business around the type of lifestyle that you choose. So for you, what has that looked like? If you're choosing to work 7 days a week, you're really running this, like, you're the CEO of this business, right? Like, you are the one making sure everything happens. So talk to me about what that looks like for you and what that decision looked like and what's driving that.
Again, difficulties are what makes change happen. And during the recession of 07, 08, if I had a bingo card for everything I've been through in the time that I've been in business, but during the recession of 07, 08, I decided I was done letting anybody else come into the business. It was just going to be me and my assistant. We were only going to take as much work as I could shoot, and she could edit. That was it. And she died. I lost her. Wow. So 30 years of having my right-hand person right next to me, and she got breast cancer, and after 26 days, she was gone.
Oh my goodness.
Not only devastating me and my family, because she was my best friend and she was the business, my children's Nana is what they called her. But what was I going to do with this business? It was just the two of us. I couldn't do everything. And so by just an incredible blessing, my oldest daughter said, okay, I hate being a nurse. You need help. Let me come into the business and I'm going to change with you. I'm going to help you change. And I was doing all my own social media, all of my accounting. I was doing all the blogging. I was doing everything. And so she just started picking one thing at a time that she could take off my plate. And as she did that, she's like, okay, now we need to hire a 1099 employee to do the blogs. I'm going to go find that person for you. And she went and found somebody to do that. And so we took each position that was not something I really wanted to do, and we found a 1099 that would come in and do it. And so some of the work like administration and social media, and now I have a salesperson, those women are stay-at-home moms, and they do this on a part-time basis. So they want to be there when their kids get on and off the bus. They want to set their own schedule, and what I give them allows them to do that. And when they're on vacation, they're on vacation. They don't have to worry too much about dealing with me unless I I need help. And then my assistants and my photographers, they get to pick and choose what kind of work they want to shoot. So if somebody says, I don't like shooting event photography, I don't ask them to shoot event photography. You like headshots? Fine, I'll have you shoot headshots. And so we carve it out based on what they like. And then when they get to the job, they're happy to be there. They're not sitting there doing work they don't want to do. They can turn it down if they want a vacation. If they only want to work 2 days a week, they don't have to work more than 2 days a week. So what does it look like for me? I've been able to raise my kids. They were with me in the business every day. Even when I had a studio, when I had a big studio before the Great Recession, they came to work with me every single day. I was able to get them to and from school. Clients knew my kids. They knew they were going to be there. And it has been a great gift that it has allowed me the flexibility to raise my kids. And now that I'm empty nester, I get to really travel, clients that send me nationwide to do certain things. And I'm thoroughly enjoying building this team and continuing to grow the business and scale it up now that I have this great team in place.
Yeah. And that's the crucial piece, right? If you had stayed a 2-person team, and I'm so sorry for your loss, by the way, like that probably has never gotten much easier to have that business partner, that best friend, that key person in your life. That whole shift is so hard. And then to have to pick it back up and manage the income and continue to build and figure it out. So what a blessing that your daughter was able to step in and help you and systematize that.
Yeah, she gave me 2 years. She gave me 2 years and she's like, I'm out.
I'm done. Moving on to the next thing. Probably good for everybody, right? What a blessing, and then great for her. But yes, you touched on something that we've covered so much on the podcast because it's so important, and you will not have the ability to grow that and scale that to new heights. And that doesn't have to be everybody's dream. You don't have to want to scale and have a huge company or a corporation. But if you do, if you want more of your time back, those are the essential pieces. You have to put people in the right places. You have to build out that team. And so for you, like the vision, it sounds like maybe not right away. The initial vision was, I want to have this partnership. It's going to be us. I don't want to have to deal with other people. So what did that look like as you shifted and had to let go of things? Did it take you a minute to feel freedom from that and a little more panic? And then just you needed to trust the process, and then it felt good and you recognized, wow, I actually have more time, more energy, and I'm still making more money.
Right. The time. And basically, when my daughter came into the business, she said, Mom, I have watched you kill yourself 5 years. And she's, you can't keep going like this. She had already given me one grandbaby. Now I have 2. And she's like, don't you want time with the grandkids? And I'm like, I do. And I have a husband. I want more time with him. And so the time is a key factor. And when I say I work 7 days a week, that's just because I like to keep up on my email. I've been able to take 2 3-day weekends in a row because normally between Memorial Day and July 4th, it's slow. And so I took a little bit of extra time that I could never have done. It has taken a lot to get used to. And I think somebody said to me once, you have to get used to somebody not doing it like you. Mm-hmm. So just because somebody doesn't do it like me doesn't make it wrong. And if they're getting the end result that you want them to get, it doesn't matter how they accomplish it. The other thing that I started doing that really has helped me a lot is when my associates go out to shoot, I send client surveys. 3 questions. Did they arrive on time? Were they dressed appropriately? Did they act professionally? Do you have any comments? Because those are the things. The images are all coming back through this computer right here. So I'm going to see what their work looks like to make sure that's on tap. I need them to be good stewards and good ambassadors for my business while they're out there. And they all are. I've not had anybody get less than a perfect score yet.
Amazing. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit because I love this and I love the universality of being able to talk about building a company and having people in the right places. But I know our listeners might hear this and say, Kate, tell me a little bit more though about the niche that you've chosen and going into corporate photography. And I love the idea that it's traditional business hours. It's like a doctor going from brain surgery to working a pediatric clinic. You have normal hours. So can you walk us through what that looks like if maybe they do have a skill, they've been doing portrait photography, wedding photography, what needs to happen in place? How do we get those first clients and how do we step into this specific industry within photography?
So if people already have a talent and if people are already saying their work is good, making the switch should not be all that difficult. And building a portfolio, as long as you have friends of any kind, you should be able to do that. Getting yourself a great website is, of course, the first thing. And that doesn't mean you have a lot of pictures necessarily. It just means that you have great pictures for what you have. And then the next thing, which is what people now really don't like to do, you've got to go and network. It is not great fun. I'm going to tell you, I am an introvert by nature, but I have learned how to be an extrovert when I need to. And you cannot sell because look at how many people do what you do. So you need to make those relationships. You need to make sure that you're going to the right places, because I went to the wrong place for many years. It was frustrating. The only thing more frustrating than being a starving artist is going to a networking event when you're an introvert and making no connections whatsoever. And so make sure you're going where either your buyers are, who's going to buy your work, or if they're not there, people who know your buyers and can pass your name on. So make sure you're going to the right place. Make sure you're building relationships, going out for one-on-one coffees, and then following up. You've got to have a CRM. You've got to be keeping track of who you're talking to, where that's going. And then you've got to stop putting your efforts where it's not going anywhere and keep putting your efforts where it is. And the only other piece of advice that I can give you on that is don't give your work away. I cannot say it enough. People who want you to give their work away do not value what you do. Not about you. It is not. It's about them. And so if you need to build a portfolio, find somebody who can trade. So when I was getting early on in my career, I'd had 2 children. I wanted a playground set. I didn't have any money to pay for a playground set, but I wanted a playground set. And so I went to the playground people. I said, do you need pictures? And so I went out and took pictures of all their playground set. They put one in my backyard. That was the pay for it. And now I have product photography of playground sets. So think about it strategically. If you want to build a portfolio for corporate photography, go find people you can either trade with or they have something that you need or want.
Yeah.
Don't give it away. Models, maybe you want to do fashion. Find an up-and-coming model that needs work for their portfolio, and the 2 of you trade that out. That's totally different than the modeling agency coming to you and say, hey, you look like you're pretty good. Why don't you give me some work and I'll give you great exposure? No, they won't. And I did it for so many years. That's why I can say it.
Yeah, I did too. I'm sitting here nodding very knowingly. Like there's certain, you have to know your limits on trade. It has to be an actual trade and not just a potential promise, a little tease. Because it can get a little crazy. It's very hard when you have something, it is tangible when you do prints, but it's a time thing. You're offering that service and you can't really buy that back. So I love that you were very intentional about getting the playground set, and there's always ways to leverage that and build the portfolio at the same time. So I even want to talk through like the logistics of charging, because I know there's so many different ways you can run a business anytime you're selling a service or a end product. When you're working with corporations, the way you describe the flow of everybody goes through the same timeline, the same process, I'm curious about pricing, not specifically what you charge, but when people are paying for corporate photos, is it the same as it's a flat fee? I know you said you have like contract work only, but are they paying more? Is there more advantage to corporate photography or commercial photography for continuity? Are you getting paid any further fees? I'm trying to find the right language. Are you just getting paid for the photos themselves, or is there opportunities to continue to earn on that work?
So this is a point of contention within the industry. If you are through ad agencies and you are working in large markets, getting usage fees is very common. If you are selling your work for stock, so you figured out you want to build a stock portfolio, whether it's as a second income or a first income, then you're getting royalties from it. Those are usually reserved for people that are doing like billboards and national ads. They're normally out of some kind of huge market: Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Houston, Miami, New York. They're being searched for because their style and look is unique to them. I am a generalist. That's what makes me and my team very different. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is a flyover state to most people, but the racing capital of the world for everybody else. And we go out and I don't take a headshot of a person. I go into a company and we take 100 headshots of everybody in that corporation. Billing your time by the session is the least profitable thing you can do. So the first thing people need to do is set their minimum. How much do you need to make to get out of bed? And stick to it. Don't drop it, because the clients that appreciate that you'll find them. And the people that don't appreciate that, you don't want them anyway. So set your minimum, decide. The other thing people need to decide is obviously the outlay of capital is huge to get into photography where you're using artificial light. So people now, they love to use daylight, and that's great. You can use daylight. But in the winter in Indiana, the sun doesn't shine for 5 months out of the year. And so you've got to know how to use artificial light. That's super expensive. So there are so many ways now that you can rent your gear, you can rent a studio, and then charge your clients back as a kit fee for the equipment and a studio rental fee for the studio. I myself work out of my home. My parents worked out of their home, and I have a studio right here in my house that's small. And so I'll do it here for stuff that is small enough, and then I'll go on location or rent a studio where necessary. So you would have to adjust your photography fees based on how much of your gear you own. So I own all my gear. So my rate might be higher than somebody that charges less, but then charges kit fees on top of it because my day rate includes my equipment. I also have equipment for my team. So I have enough gear that my photographers use the same lights that I use. The only thing that I ask my photographers to do is maintain their own camera because that's very personal. People have their own style that they like. They like these lenses. They like this, that, and the other. But otherwise, I have enough gear for 3 teams to go out on the same day. So just figuring out as a new business owner, where do you want to invest that capital? Do you want to have your own camera? You can rent lenses now, so you don't have to own every lens in the book. You can rent an extra body if you want to back up to your camera equipment. So there's a lot that you can do and not have the capital off the top.
Yeah.
And then you can base your pricing according to how good are you, compare yourself to somebody else in your market, maybe have a mentor. Do you have somebody that's in the industry that can look at your portfolio and be real with you? You don't want somebody to blow sunshine up your butt. You want to really know, how am I stacking up? And some photographers actually put their pricing on their website. They tell you right away how much their day rate is or their half day rate is. I normally don't send people out by the hour. It depends on what it is though. So we've done some work for municipalities and they might have us go out to their different fairs and areas 5 or 6 times a year. And so we'll have one contract for the whole year. And for those, we might break them up into hours or 2 hours. But for the day-to-day contracts, we break it up by the half day and the whole day.
Cool. I know a lot of people come in charging either the flat rate for the photography session, or even in other businesses, people can get stuck charging that time for money rate. So as you're making that transition, I know you said like pick your price, and there's so much that's subjective about it. You have to take into account like where you are measured against your competitors and things like that. But even now, as you've shifted into being more of the CEO and you've hired other people, do they come in and say what their rates are? And so you're just going a little bit above that? Or do you think that it depends on everybody's goals? Do your photographers and team members, are they okay with an hourly rate? Or because they're not having to run the company and run the booking of the jobs?
Right. And I'm doing all the sales and business development. My team are. So what I do for that is, first of all, I believe very strongly that everybody deserves to make a fair wage. I am so disheartened that there are so many companies out there that are brokers that are coming in, and I'll name names because it's not personal, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and they will go and send a photographer out for $50 and they want 300 shots for $50. Not going to do it. I'm just not.
No.
And so what I've done is I work with my team to establish a rate that is a minimum for them, and then making sure everybody's on the same page of what a half day and a whole day rate looks like for them, and everybody gets paid the same. So if you're an event photographer, I've got 3 of them, they are all making the same. Headshot photographers, we do those by the person if we're doing a whole day, and then we'll back out the editing and we'll back out the photography, we'll back out my markup, and that's where we come to them. So I mark them up 30% to cover my time, my investment. I've only been doing this for about 3 years. I'm trying to reevaluate whether I need a higher rate of return on that, just because now I've got a salesperson that I'm paying where I was doing it myself before. We'll see. I feel like that if you take your business and you think that it's just going to be this way for the rest of your life, you're missing the mark. You've got to be able to evaluate not only where you're going business-wise, strategy-wise, but evaluate your pricing to make sure as inflation goes up and you add to your team and all of those things, that you're still making enough of a profit margin to make it worth your while.
Yeah, such good insights. I love kind of hearing how the numbers break down and what you have found really works for you. And I'm thinking like, yeah, it's 2025. Those margins probably need to increase for sure.
Probably.
Especially as you start outsourcing the sales. So can you talk to me about the difference between what the salesperson does in your business specifically versus you? Because you're handling and you're the one who's hands-on with all of the inquiries and you're sending out those quotes. And so from there, is that where your handoff happens? Like you're saying, okay, we have this lead. They reach back out, the salesperson picks it up and pitches the services and gives them the options?
No, actually, I do it very differently. So the lead comes into me. I handle the lead until the quoting process, and then I hand it to my administrator because we've already got that. That's already in the door. They've already decided they want to know more. That's not anything that I can't handle and my administrator can't handle. My salesperson is out feet on the ground. So she's at networking events, because building the relationship for photography, like we were talking about, lots of people do this. And I will tell you, I get people that sign a contract faster when they've been referred to me than they don't even get a competitive price. They're like, nope, so-and-so said that I need to go with you. And they just sign it on the spot. So sending my salesperson out to visit other networking events that I can't go to, because I'm still networking, I'm still going out and maintaining my relationships. She's out there finding new people that aren't looking on the internet. We take all the ones that come off the internet. We just skim them over this way. But she's the one that's going to different places, meeting with different people, and continuing to push the brand out into the community.
I love that. Do you feel like she has an advantage in not being the company? Do people know, does she introduce herself as a sales rep for your company, or is she... Okay. So do you feel like there's a unique like pressure that's released though? Like they know what she's there for, but she's not the one actually providing the skill and not the one running the company. So there's such a huge advantage to that.
There is. And just again, for the people that are listening out there, putting somebody else out there to represent your brand is hard. Where you're like, yes, I'm going to send somebody I barely know, and they're going to go out and talk about the business. Oh God, that's terrifying. And, she's young, she's in her 20s. And the first time that she came to an event, she was dressed very artsy, and she is very artsy. And I'm very buttoned up, tie. I'm like putting on a dress with heels, and she's got 3 different colors, and she's got scarves around her neck, and she just looks like Cher from the 60s, and she's beautiful. But I'm like, that is not at all what I expected. Oh my gosh, everybody loves everything about her. And when she ends up on a site, because I take her on jobs to introduce her to people, and they're like, you are so creative. I'm like, she's more creative than I am. And so
and I'm the creative.
I'm the creative, and she's more creative than I am, but she's got her degree in interior design. So she is creative. And so my mom always used to make fun of me because she's like, you look like a banker. Everywhere you go, you dress like a banker. And I'm like, I like dressing like a banker. And so now I have somebody out there that really represents the creativity of the business and is doing far more than I could have ever imagined just by being her. And that's what I mean. When you run a business that has been your baby, all of a sudden you need help, but you're struggling to let it go. You're struggling to let it be done differently. And if you're going to grow and you're going to scale, you just have to find the right people and let them do what they do.
I love too that you've multiplied yourself in the area that you probably don't love. You said you're an introvert and you'll still do it. I think that's the mark of a good CEO, a good business owner, is we don't always just get to pick and choose the things that we want to do that are our strengths and the fun part. We have to do the things we don't necessarily love. So you've been out there, you're still doing it, you're still networking, but I can see a world that exists in which you don't really even have to do that. You're just the face and the name, but this is still happening. You have multiple sales reps, or the sales rep in and of herself is bringing all of the business, and you just get to literally exist in the part you love. So that again goes back to, you make those sacrifices, you let go of the reins a little bit because you have the bigger picture of what you want to build and not just, oh, I want to be in control and do everything myself.
Yeah. And my husband, because these last few weeks have been so different for me, and even 3 years later, so different. He's like, I love seeing you take time off. He's like, you look at your calendar, you don't have anything, and you don't need to do anything. And so you just take the day off. And so I just think that It allows me to strategize. When I'm not shooting and when I'm not doing the accounting, because those are the two things I like to do the best, are the accounting and the shooting. I'm out walking the dog and I come up with like really good ideas because my brain is not occupied 24/7 like it was for so many years. I can think of ways that I want to expand the business or ways to expand my website, which I have done. I've added educational pieces about photography and then educational pieces about marketing to draw people in on topics they're interested in. Oh yeah, then they get to see the work as well. So I think that your listeners would be very mindful to understand if your brain is full of to-dos, if your brain is too busy running the business, you can't think about where the business is going.
Yeah. In a weird way, I draw the line too. You said something a little while ago about you can't go to networking events and just be hard selling. And I think we can't constantly be producing. There has to be that balance and creative genius, opportunities to just put it down a little bit, genuine connection, genuine creativity. And when you try to take on everything and you try to play all the characters and all the roles in your business, it will eventually suffer because you get so like rigidly drawn into thinking you have to do everything. You're exhausted mentally, emotionally, physically. Everything starts to pay that price. So I love that. And I love that you've illustrated maybe a little bit of the struggle and the friction in trying to outsource and bring other people into something. But I think I've heard enough from enough people as I listen to recognize that is really, truly the marker of a successful, scalable, long-term business that is going to stand the test of time, even as market shifts happen.
Yeah, and I think that we are going to continue to see things change with AI, and we've got a soft economy right now. Things are going to continue to change and develop, and the goal will just be to never shy away from change. That's the one constant that has been my entire career. And leaning into it, trying to stay ahead of it, and trying to see exactly how you can incorporate the disruptor into your business. Don't try to hide from it. Bring it in, make it your friend, and figure out how that is going to make you different than your competition. And that's what I'm trying to do with AI.
Yeah, I love that because it's not, I think the more we look at it as this tool that can enhance what we're doing and less about this replacement, then I think that's going to be the shift that moves us forward, right? Like our kids and their generations, grandkids, they're not going to have to learn how to use AI. It's going to be so much a part of just natural, how things are built, how things are used. So I think our generation is in that in between where we're like, this is cool and it can help me, but it's not ready to step in and fully replace. So how can I create more of that freedom? How can I create more of that space in my life by leveraging some of this? And it's just another tool, just like a person that you would hire to do something for your business.
It is. It's making me far more efficient. It's making my deliverables easy to get out. There's a lot of great things about it that have affected my business positively. I know that we're close to the end, but product photography has taken a huge leap in our business because people want real pictures of real products. They don't want the fake images. And so, how long is that going to last? I don't know. Right now, retailers are demanding it. So product photography is really taking off as a pushback against AI. So I think that it's just important to continue watching. It's not going away.
Yeah. On that note, I think just it would be fun to maybe give people a few areas that you recommend being very much immersed in the space. We've talked about a lot of different types of photography. So what would you recommend to somebody if they want to have more of this scalable income? What are maybe the top 3 spaces that you would say, focus maybe some attention here right now?
We are still seeing a big drive for headshots. In fact, I've already shot almost 700 this year, I think is my number that I'm at right now. And that's my whole team. That's not just me. People want authenticity. They want, especially the professional services. So think about your accountants and your lawyers and your doctors, your financial advisors, bankers. They are people that the public must trust in order for them to do their job. And so those authentic headshots, maybe board of directors images, they're staying strong. In fact, I'm seeing some stronger than last year. So that's a great space. Product photography is a little bit harder because Amazon shoots a lot. And so that's actually part of the problem with my clients is that Amazon owns the rights to those images. So if you go out and find a manufacturer or distribution house that wants to own their own rights to their images, that's a great place to do product photography. And we do them both in environments and in studios. So that's another place I'm seeing a good bit of growth. Events, corporate events, shooting, team buildings. The marketing people at corporations, they're tapped out. Corporations are squeezing their people so tight right now. They're laying people off and putting more on the individual. So if you can connect with a company's marketing team and take some of that pressure off of them by shooting their events, we are seeing a nice surge in corporate events. Those are the three that I think. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. If people want to learn more from you, maybe they want your services specifically, where's the best place for them to connect with you after the podcast?
Our Studio 13 website is studio13online.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. You can find Studio 13 on LinkedIn. Instagram at Studio 13 Indy. So you can find us anywhere. And remember, those new business emails, they go straight to me.
Awesome. Yep. We know you will actually see what we send. And I love that. So cool. That personal touch makes all the difference. Lesle, I appreciate everything you shared. It's been such a fun conversation. I don't know if people listening know this, but I wouldn't even be sitting here doing this interview had it not been for me being a photographer. I took the founders of the show, I took their very first podcast cover art photo like 10 years ago that is now branched into this version of the show. But yeah, you never know. There's so many opportunities. There's so many cool different ways that you can use photography and start with something that you have right now as an asset, as a skill, build a business from that. So I was just thinking about that as we were having the conversation, like, wow, photography was a season of my life, but we wouldn't even be having this cool conversation. And I love talking shop with you. So thank you.
That is amazing. That's a great story.
All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much again, Lesle.
Thank you.